Hey all, Mark Vega, run long after 60. Boy, am I glad to see you. Hope you've had a great week. I took a week off for the podcast last week. Instead, did something, ended up being a transformative experience. I had the opportunity to crew and pace with the team for Paul James Johnson, who at 69 years old, 69 years old, finished the Cocodona 250, a 254-mile point-to-point race in Arizona from right outside of Phoenix, Black Canyon City, up to Flagstaff. Paul finished this race for the 5th time. 5. Wow. He invited me to come pace and let me come in early to crew, and I was transformed. I'd never experienced a multi-day event, 200 miles, ever, though I had crewed a 100-mile race. My coach, Henry Howard, twice at the 100-mile distance. That's a one-day, right, 24-hour event. But 250 miles is much different. 250 miles is 5 days. Paul started at 5 a.m. Monday morning last week, and he finished just under 106 hours later, Friday afternoon. It was transformative for me because I was able to witness and feel and be a part of the ultra running community in a way I had never yet experienced. And that was really showing up for your runner, showing up for the crew, showing up for your fellow pacers. And Paul and his team were dialed in. They've done this before. As I said, he just finished 5. But he's done other 200-mile races, many of them. And at 69 is on his way, if he's not already there, to be one of the greatest of all time 200-mile runners in his 60s. The level of gratitude and appreciation I was able to experience was something I'd not experienced before. To be able to serve somebody 5 days in a row, you're on all the time. Each of the crew members got a couple hours of sleep here and there throughout the days, as did the pacers. But you didn't feel a lack of sleep or exhaustion or anything like that, because you are tracking the runner and all the participants at Cocodona, and who are hyper aware of what was happening at each aid station, at each segment of the course. And in addition, we're hyper aware of Rachel Entrican and Killian Korth and Courtney DeWalter, the leaders, the elite runners who are going very, very fast over the entire 250 miles. We were not in that group, but Paul was fast. He was covering the earth, man. And it was so impressive to see him keep showing up, take little dirt naps, stop at his aid station, come to the crew vehicle, dialed in. Everything was set up like clockwork. Change your shoes, take off your socks, take a nap, eat the food, get back dressed, get out there, grab a new pacer, let's go. Fill up the water bottles, let's go. Everything was dialed in, and I was grateful to be a part of that and to have some real responsibilities. Part of that, a big part of that for me, was to have the privilege to be the pacer, the last pacer for Paul in this race. I was able to cover 44 miles. Now, I picked him up, or he picked me up, after his legs had 190 miles on them. 190. And so we ran together between mile 190 and mile 234. And after that, he once again topped off his fluids, tightened his shoes, grabbed his fuel, and was off. For the last part of the race this year, the runners had to cover the climb on Mount Eldon, the downhill, the descent, which is most treacherous from Eldon, and then eventually run all the way to the finish to Flagstaff. And due to the migration patterns of the endangered Mexican spotted owl, I believe, the course had to be adjusted this year. The Eldon was a place where we didn't want extra runners and pacers trampling about. And so the runners were solo by design. And they finished. And Paul finished. Now, this is a long and different intro to my podcast, I know. But I thought in real time, as close as possible, I wanted to capture this, what this is about. I'm only out here running because I saw older guys in the 60s running a 100-mile race. And I discovered Paul, along with Kevin Vlieger and Stephanie Irving, after last year's Cocodona, when only 3 of 14 people in their 60s finished. This year, though, don't want to get the number wrong, but I think 7 people finished. I think this year 19 started and 7 finished. So yes, you're right. Part of my objective is to track down those other finishers and get them on the podcast, because they've got wisdom of years. And Paul has wisdom of years, and like the others, also have the wisdom of miles. And that's something that can't be purchased. You can't learn it out of a book. You can't really even train it after a single race. No, you've got to have a lot of races. You've got to put in the time. And it's not just miles and training. You've got to put in the time with the community. So I am grateful, and I'm celebrating all those crew members and all those pacers and the runners and support teams at Cocodona. Without you, this is a different endeavor. Every element is so mission critical, and with every race, with every outing, I'm just much more aware of that. Now, upon my return from Cocodona, I had lined up the opportunity to speak with today's guest. Today's guest is Dave Perry, fit and running 60. Now, when a guy who seems like a regular guy starts an Instagram account with a handle like that, of course, it catches my attention. But the greatest thing about Dave Perry isn't that he runs super long distances. He doesn't. Or that he's been passionate about growing old and running for years. He hasn't. But now, as of about 6 months ago, he was urged by his family to start recording your adventures, Dad, because I think you might be inspiring. And boy, he was right. Dave Perry, imagine this. He shows up and records TikTok videos on his own, no ring light, no extra production value. He just goes out there and runs and has fun. And his authenticity, his realness is what's so relatable. He's like me. That's what you feel when you see this guy's videos. He's not trying to do anything except be out there and running, getting some exercise. Is he a father? Yes. Is he a veteran? Yes. Okay, check those boxes. Is he vegan? He is. Did he stopped drinking some time ago? He did. So, for all those reasons, I'm in. I'm attracted like a fly to paper. I want to hear more about Dave Perry. So then when I dove in, realized he really allows his TikToks to go viral a bit, right? They really have some reach because he's so real. And that's why I was excited to get him on the podcast. Did he just run his first 30-mile distance? He did. But has he been running for decades? He has been. So now, with a message that says, let's just get out there and move. We're over 60 now. Come on, Dave. Let's go. And he looks at me and he says, yeah, Mark, I'm in. Let's go. And so for that, I think it's time. Let's not keep anyone waiting. But wait, before I do that, subscribe to the channel, would you? We're on YouTube, and love to have you join all these unicorn guests I have. So join us on YouTube. Noon on Sunday is when we release the episodes. 5 a.m. on Sundays is when the audio versions get released. In case you're out there doing a long run on a Sunday, early in the morning. If so, that's good. I hope that's you, and I hope this is for you. Share this content if you know someone that looks like me, sounds like me, or looks and sounds like Dave Perry. The message is the same. As we get older, we really need to urge our compatriots to move. Join us, will you? Okay. Now I think it's time. I think we're ready. I think it's time. It's time for Dave Perry. Let's go. Hey, it's Mark Vega. Welcome to another episode of the Run Long After 60 podcast. Joining me today is special guest Dave Perry, fit and running 60. Dave, welcome to the show.
Good to be here, Mark. Thank you.
Dave, you're the first guy who I think is a 60-year-old runner who I first only saw on TikTok. And that's a rarity because I see people from Instagram and I'm following races all the time. And this was a little different. I see this guy, spry 6-year-old, like, oh, I'm going to start running after 60. That's pretty amazing. So as far as I can tell from your bio, Dave, you are in Northern California and you have grandkids and you just hit 60. Tell us a little bit about who you are right now. Paint the picture of who you are right now for us.
Yeah. Well, it's funny that you talk about my post on TikTok. I've been running since I was 15 and I'm 60 now. So I've been running throughout my life. And about 6 months ago, my daughters are 32 and 33 and they're into TikTok and, you know, they know how to make videos and they're really good at it. And they said, Dad, you should post your runs on TikTok. You might motivate some people to get out there and run, you know, at an older age. And it definitely is not my lane, posting and any kind of social media, but I did like it. I do like going on, particularly TikTok, because it allows you to take just kind of pictures and video that are not really that great. And it allows you to, put it together into a really nice video and add music and things like that. And, you know, it turns out nice. And I do believe that those kind of videos do inspire people, you know, when they get older, you know, whether they're older or younger, I do believe it inspires them to, you know, think twice. This guy's out there doing it. He's 60. Maybe I had to go, you know, run to the gym or go out for a jog or something. So it was my daughters who inspired me there.
Well, I love it. Some of those videos too have crossed over 10,000 views, which is great. And what I think it is authentic and self-shot, and like you just said, it's like nothing fancy, but it seems and makes it feel so authentic. Right. So once I watched one, I'm like, I just kind of clicked through. I'm like, man, this guy is onto something. And it's not because it's some earth shattering philosophy or approach. Right. The takeaway was for me, like, okay, he just started and he's been running for a long time, but now he's sharing that journey and sharing his runs. And you're very motivating without, pushing people to, go do something. You're not David Goggins. This is not stay hard, get up and go. This is like, give her a go, give her a shot. So I love that. So now let's go from 15-year-old cross country guy. Did you say that already? Or maybe I just read that. And until now, 60-year-old grandfather. So let's go backwards. Do the math, 1981. How did you get started running? And how'd you get started running? Was that high school? Must have been about high school time.
Yeah. So first couple of years of high school, I ran cross country. I just had some friends who were doing it, and they said, "Hey, you should, you would probably enjoy coming out and doing this." I didn't have all that much interest in it. And in all honesty, while I was doing cross country, it really wasn't high on my, being in high school, it wasn't anything I was proud of or talked about or anything like that. It was just something I did, and it was fun. And I do have some good memories of the races and things like that. When you're 15, 16, going to that. It's funny because it's one of those sports where nobody knows you're in it. Nobody comes to watch. You just, I think even today's cross country, it's definitely not a spectator sport, but it did ingrain in me some of those running skills that I've carried throughout, my lifetime of running. So I appreciate that. And it might have been one of the motivational factors for me joining the military as well. So, because I joined the military when I was 18 and went into that for a few years. So
did you go straight from high school to the military, straight into the Army?
I did. So I had that base of a couple years of cross country, then a few years in the military. And that's really kind of the foundational structure that got me started in the world of fitness. And while I was in the military, that's when I really got into, back at that time, it was more not called longevity. It was more of like life extension, if I remember right. The people that were reading or talking about today's longevity topics called it, a different name. And so life extension was something I started at an early age, taking a lot of vitamins, minerals, studying what all of the different vitamins and minerals do for your body. When I got out of the military, I married to my high school sweetheart, and both my wife and I were of that same kind of conscience mind of thinking, and we stopped drinking alcohol.
Excellent.
And so carry that forward, and that's kind of the foundation of what got me where I am.
Now, let me slow you down and back you up a minute. So you're doing cross country in high school. What year did you join the U.S. Army, if you remember?
So I joined on my birthday. That would have been 1983. I was still in school. At that time, the Army had a delayed entry program. So my birthday was in November. I joined 1983, and then I actually went into the military the summer of 1984 after I graduated. Okay,
so I think I'm just a couple years older than you. I'm 62 right now, and so this all tracks. Part of how you grew up, the decision you made. I graduated in 1981, and I was in the military by 1982, and part of why I'm glad that you've joined us today is if we just follow ultra runners or run streakers or champions who people are really fast in their 60s or they're superhuman in some ways, and I'm inspired by all of them. I'm grateful that they've been willing to come on the podcast. When I saw you, Dave, and I saw your profile, I'm like, oh man, this guy, talk about something relatable to me because my path is this guy's path. right? That's kind of how I felt. So you go into the military and you're there for a couple years, U.S. Army. Were you infantry? It looks like, I think from the description you sent to me, you were a sniper. So were you infantry, or what was the military occupational specialty? What was your MOS?
Yeah, so it's 11 Bravo infantry.
Okay.
And so I went to the infantry. Were you 11 Bravo as well?
No, sir. I had the best job in the military in the United States Army, 71 Romeo. I was a broadcast journalist. So basically, I was an on-camera reporter. They don't even have that MOS anymore because, once CNN kind of came into the universe and everything went online, once that happened, they retired a bunch of MOS, bunch of jobs. But I literally worked at a television and radio station during my entire service in Korea.
Wow.
So, best job ever. As I reflect back on this, it was definitely the best job ever. So you're in for a couple of years, 11 Bravo, right?
Yeah.
How many years?
So I was in for a total of 3 years. After my first year, I went to the same area you did, Korea. And Korea is where they had, this was in 1986 by the time I got there. And that's where sniper school was at the time. So I was recruited to go attend sniper school. I made it through the physical fitness tests and the shooting tests and shooting proficiency, things of that nature. And so sniper school was about 30 days, more of a Vietnam type sniper school. I think in 1987 it reopened in Fort, it'll come to me, in Georgia.
Fort Benning?
Fort Benning, Georgia is where it went back to.
Yeah.
1987, that's where it's at today. But so, I went to sniper school, and then it was a sniper on the DMZ, and that was very, very physically demanding as well, going through sniper school. That was one of the toughest things I've ever done.
Thank you for your service. And let me just break down the historical context of this. So Dave is at sniper school in the Republic of Korea, that's South Korea. Panmunjom is the 53rd parallel, I think, between North and South Korea. This is 1986. What's happening in the universe of South Korea at that time is the 1986 Asian Games. It's the first time they put on a kind of a multi-day, multi-sport event for all of Asia. Now, a couple of years before that, I think it was in 1983, might have been 1983, for the first time ever, Korea gets to host the Olympic Games in 1988. So the U.S. Olympic Committee in 1983, 5 years before the Olympics, gives South Korea the opportunity to shine to the world for the first time ever. So that's what's happening in Korea at the time. So now there are tensions North and South Korea at that time, have been for a long time. China has always been behind North Korea in a way, but China is on the world stage and growing to be a bigger place on the world stage. But the United States government, and I have no intel here, I'm just saying this is what was happening. The U.S. military armed forces readiness, preparedness has never, the emphasis on that preparedness had never been as heightened as it had been. We were in times of peace, quote unquote, right? We were in peacetime. We weren't at war. There was Beirut bombing. There was Lebanon that had happened, but we weren't yet in the middle of things in 1986, 87. And so thank you for your service, Dave. And you're in sniper school there, but how long do you stay in the Republic of Korea during the if the sniper school was 30 days or whatever, how long did you stay deployed there? Did you stay in Korea or did you get moved somewhere else?
So it was a 1 year stay, including a month of sniper school and then 3 months on the DMZ as a sniper. And then, so after the full year was up, I finished up my service time in Fort Carson, Colorado. So.
Okay. Now, as you're there. Yes, go ahead.
Interesting. Oh, go ahead. I was going to say it is interesting how you just pulled that history out of South Korea, because that does bring back a lot of memories. It was mostly Cold War training back then for most of our military. It was, Soviet Union, Soviet Union, Soviet Union. And as you know, that was kind of right about the time perestroika and glasnost, is that what economic and political changes and Soviet Union started to break it apart. So tensions were pretty high, but it was still peacetime. And so I did serve under peacetime, and ever since I've gotten out, I have been volunteering time to my fellow veterans. Even to this day, I'm part of a really important veterans group. But I don't want to overplay it. It was peacetime. There's been troops that were before us and after us that had some really serious duty, and definitely don't want to downplay their roles.
I think that's a great little moment to share. And again, I didn't even recall the relatability between me and you. I forgot about that completely. The Army service, and Berlin Wall comes down in 1989. So yes, through the 80s, there was all kinds of movement in different directions, both to have a more peace and thriving global economic universe. And part of that had to be that the biggest players on the stage would curtail the smaller players and to kind of keep them at bay. So yeah. I'm glad you were there. And I'll also point out too, and in case, think of this. We think of infantrymen and women. We think of infantry service people, Army personnel, soldiers, but we don't often think of how long are they there and what are they doing. So Dave's there for a 3-year stint. Mine was also designated initially as a 3-year stint. And imagine that, going to be trained, sniper school, and then put, this is not Vietnam, this is not during wartime, Cold War, but to serve time at the DMZ, the demilitarized zone, in and around the 38th parallel. What did I say? 53rd? No, it's the 53rd anniversary of the armistice. That's what was in my head. The 38th parallel between dividing North and South Korea. And 4 years since the armistice, and to this day, we still patrol that border. And we do it not with guys who are lifers who are going to be there forever. Nope. We do it with the Dave Perrys of the world. They come, they serve. At any moment, they had a hair trigger. They were on that DMZ. So thank you for that, Dave. Thank you for the service. And I don't want to downplay the magnitude of people serving longer stints, but I also don't want to underplay the importance of you and me, right? The guys, the men and women who serve for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 6 years, right? It's a single stint. Well, we put on the uniform, we get trained, and we do our job. And I don't ever get to talk about that. And I forgot that this was part of your story. So thank you for letting me, stray off the path a little bit and talk about it. So thank you. Do you love Korean food? Does Korea have a little soft spot in your lifestyle at all?
I have kimchi in my refrigerator. It's part of, I'm plant-based. I've told you I am plant-based, and kimchi's part of my diet. It wasn't when I left Korea. I mean, it was a good 20 plus years before I had the nerve to pick it up again. But that's
and you're a brother. You're my brother from another mother. I love that. Yeah, right now I have two giant. In my office, I have a fridge in my office, and I have two giant kimchi pots. The reason they're in my office refrigerator is because my wife's like, "No, you can't have those in the kitchen." So I have all the accoutrement of Korean food. So whenever that happens, I bring it into the kitchen, and Anyway, luckily one of my daughters is a fanatic for it too. So we survived just fine. We survived just fine. So this is, you get out in 1980, wrote to me 87, I think.
Right.
Now, and then you, when you were in the military, do you remember in Korea, did you have to do PT, physical fitness, what do they call it? Training? Did you run once a day, or how often, if at all, did you actually run when you were in the military?
We ran every day. We did PT every day, 7 days a week. Yeah.
Okay.
Every day. Mm-hmm.
Did you run it near the DMZ? Like where were you doing that? I'm curious.
Yeah, we would just, there were paths all over the place. So we would get up, do our calisthenics, do our run, and go eat breakfast. Yeah.
Were there trails when you said there were paths? Were you on asphalt?
A mixture of both. Yeah, there was a lot of paved roads in the areas where I was stationed. And then there were dirt paths as well. So yeah, running was definitely part of every day.
Okay. I'm guessing, or I'm wondering that by the time you're doing that, is running an obligation that you do for the military, or is running something that is now important to you? Like your fitness is important to you. But when I was in the military, it was an obligation. I didn't do it because I loved it. I did it because I had to.
Yeah, when I talked earlier about the life extension arena that I kind of delved into, that was when I first got into the military. I didn't really incorporate the running at the time as part of it. To me, the life extension part was more about taking the vitamins and the minerals and things of that nature. It all just kind of came together in the years after the military. I don't remember really enjoying getting up and running. I mean, it was different distances every day. I stopped drinking in my late 20s, but at that time I was still drinking, and most of the guys did drink. And so you're out there running after drinking, beer the night before. It really wasn't a fun thing.
Yeah, I can relate to that. I for the first time I stopped drinking, I was in the military, but I drank so much rum. There's no drugs. Drugs were verboten. There was none of that. No weed. There was none of that where I was at in the time I was there. But we definitely drank in Korea, and I definitely drank. And I smoked cigarettes then too, a lot, like Camel Straights. It was ridiculous. But I think, and I was a road guard. So, so I went to PT every morning. I was usually the last person to join the group. I almost always had somebody, the captain or whatever, sent down to retrieve me from the barracks. I was that guy. So I would show up and throw on my boots and my t-shirt. And I had a safety vest of some sort. I'm trying to remember. So I was like a permanent road guard. And for people that have never run in a formation, the whole company, 120 people or whatever, there's some group and you're in a big box. You've seen it on the movies 1,000 times and you're all just, a little bird is on the hill, whatever, right? So you're singing cadence. But the road guards are the 4 people at the corners of this group standing outside. And as we approach an intersection, the people in the back of the group sprint to the intersection, and you clear a path, and then let this whole long group march through, run through, jog through the intersection. And then when they pass you, then they get up there in front of you. Then you get back into formation. There's another intersection coming up. You sprint ahead. So that was my introduction to. Actually, it really was my introduction to running, because before then I ran track, but I was never fast and never, identified necessarily as a runner. But once I started that, but I identified because I was an idiot. I was like, oh, I could drink. How much can I drink and smoke and party and still run faster than all these other people, right? It was a very bad perspective, Dave. It wasn't healthy. It wasn't healthy. So you get out now. Now finally, let's get to the good stuff that you teased us about, and I held you back for a minute. So you get out of the military in 1989, something magical happens. So you knew each other in high school, and you said you were high school sweethearts, but by this point, this is after high school now. It's 1989. A number of years have passed. So talk to us about your wife and the relationship and when you met, and talk to us, take us through that story.
Yeah. So, my first date with my wife was, June of 1983. And it was later that year, November of 1983, when I turned 18, when I joined the military. So she became my girlfriend before I joined the military. So we were together for that first full year. And it was, even though I had planned on going into the military for several years before that, it was a tough decision to actually go join the military, knowing I was going to leave my girlfriend for several years. And it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy joining, and it wasn't easy while I was there for either one of us. So we had our ups and downs when I was gone, but when I got back, we got back together. And after a year, I proposed. And so that takes us to 1989, the year we were married. So we consider ourselves having been together for about 43 years at this point, even though during the military, when I came home, I would see her and things of that nature. But it took off really well once I got home. Thank goodness. Thank goodness for me, because I'm lucky to have her. And so, we're coming up on 37 years now, 2 daughters, 4 grandchildren. And I think that's why my daughters told me, 6 months ago, Dad, you need to start posting these things. There's other people that are, that want to see people that are married for a long time, who want to be part of their grandchildren's life, who want to stay healthy to do that. And that's definitely where I'm at today. And it started back in high school.
That's very sweet. And it's very sweet. And it's to be celebrated. Well, here's the fact. Here's the little piece of data that I'm really excited to hear about. So in 1989, you get together, and I guess you get married in 89. But then you're running. And is she running? And then I see the first thing that you told me, it might be more that I couldn't track. I tried to go on the marathon sites, couldn't find it. But you ran the CIM, California International Marathon, in 2000, right? So in 89, you meet and you get married. Are you running between 1990 and 2000 when it looks like you ran this marathon together? What's your running universe together after you get married?
Yeah, so we get married, and my wife is athletic as well. I'm running. She was teaching step aerobics at the local Y. So
of course she was. Man, that was hot 1989, 90. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was great. And so then she became pregnant, and she still taught for most of the pregnancy, but then she stopped doing that. But we both were running. But it wasn't for quite some time where we got into a running group and made friends within the running community and started doing running events. You started with the 5Ks, 10Ks, and then in 2000, so that would be, quite some time, 10, 11 years later, where we ran a marathon together with a lot of our friends as well that we're still friends with.
Was that your first marathon? For both of you,
that was our first marathon. So out of our big running group, we all finished. We all had a great time. My wife came across the finish line, not with me, her husband, but holding hands with her best girlfriend, and so that they went together. But
were you running about the same speed? And not that that's important, but in your first marathon?
Yeah, I've always been a middle of the packer, just looking at those elites and going, wow. How are you built that way? How can you do that? I came across at 325. So I think I was about 10 minutes away from, at that point, from qualifying for Boston. I'm like, okay, I prepared pretty well for this marathon. And if I can't make Boston doing as hard as I did, I think I'm good. I did my marathon, and then we went on to do triathlons and things of this nature. Throughout my career, not to jump in on a whole new topic, but when I was talking about life extension back into my military days, now I think we're more talking about longevity. And as I was running, my fitness, you've used the word relationship a lot, both in our communication before this chat. You've used the word relationship to fitness. My relationship was more about longevity. Fitness was just one part of it. Fitness has always been important to me, but so has my nutrition, what I put in my mouth, nutrition and sleep. And it's those three things together have always been top of mind for me. So at the fitness side, the marathon was more of just kind of a test to see where I'm at, maybe in comparison with the world. And then later, a couple of years later, I did an Ironman, and that was another test. But I didn't go do 7 Ironmans. I just did one, because I've always been thinking about this longevity side, this relationship with longevity. And I've always thought that, and it's probably wrong, but hold myself back a little bit now so that my knees will still be working when I'm in my 60s or 70s or 80s or whatever. So that's why I've only done one marathon. I've only done one Ironman. I have done a half a dozen, or maybe a dozen, or even more of that, of half Ironmans, half marathons, things of that nature. But that's kind of my mindset on the whole the long distance.
Okay. Was that during the triathlons and the Ironmans, was that all up through in your 40s, late 30s and 40s? Because at 50, you stop racing intentionally. Is that correct?
Yeah, 50 was my last half Ironman.
Okay.
Did the rock and roll in San Jose when I was 50, so 2015. And that's when I told myself that from here on out, it's just me going out in the world and enjoying my runs and keeping my fitness level as high as I possibly can, keeping my nutrition as nutrient dense as I can, and then and making sure I'm sleeping good. But yeah, since 2015, I have not done an actual organized race.
Would it be fair to say, I love how you're breaking it down for me, because I would have missed these things had you not said that, but it sounds like sustainable longevity beats peak performance. In other words, longevity is the key. Durability is the key, rather than yet another half marathon, yet another half triathlon, half Ironman, et cetera, et cetera. Is that right? So it's longevity, right? That's what it is.
And I don't know if that's the answer, or if that's what, we should be doing. It's working well so far for me.
For you.
Had I done more marathons or more Ironmans, would I be here where I'm at today and be able to go run, 20, 30 miles at 60 years old? I don't know. I mean, maybe I would have sustained an injury or just overworked my knees or my hips or my ankles. I don't really know. But the way I've worked it is working for me so far.
Right.
I've never had a major injury. I don't have any injuries right now. I can go out and run whatever distance I want. And, I have a few hours of soreness, but I go through all the normal routines of recovery. And so far, so good.
I think knowing ourselves is critical, and sounds like that's what you've done. You've tried to dial that in. Thank you. I wanted to slow roll into what I'm really interested in. The most interesting piece of this is about fuel, and it's for me, and it's about diet and what you consume and how you consume it. So it seems like the way you've evolved from a dietary standpoint, it's practical, honest, and I can totally relate to it. You course corrected when you and your doctor decided, just do something else. So it looks like, and I just want to set this up and then I just want to let you roll. Carnivore Atkins from about 2000, the year 2000 through your 40s, right? Is that about right? So talk first about that and then go ahead and shift gears and see how we got to plant-based.
Yeah. So I want to say my entire life up into my 20s, I could pretty much get away with eating anything. Although, as I mentioned, when I was in the military and started taking a lot of supplements and things of that nature, I did pay attention to what I was eating. I tried to eat as healthy, as the world was giving us information about health. It's changed a lot since then. I tried. And then there was a point in my life where or a friend of mine introduced me to the Atkins diet. And at that time, I felt that with the information I had available, that was the healthiest diet for me at the time. And I was at an age about 35 when I started that. And it worked fine. And that was the period of time when I was doing the marathon and Ironmans and halves and things of that nature. And it did work. It sustained me. It was fine. It was in my 40s, maybe my mid 40s, when I started to notice my running abilities. It seemed more like I was dragging concrete than just being able to go out and run compared to my younger years.
Right.
Maybe that's just a normal evolution of aging. But at the time, a couple different things hit me. I was thinking that it was the carnivore diet, the Atkins diet at the time just wasn't working for me as well as it was in prior years.
Okay.
So in 2010, I only ate fish. So I stopped eating all red meat and things of chicken and things like that and went to fish. And so from 2010 to about 2015, that's how it was working. But from my cholesterol levels from when I was carnivore and even through eating fish, it didn't do much to my cholesterol. It stayed right around 200 to 220, something like that for all those years. And it got to a point in 2015 where my doctor said, you know what, we need to start you on a statin. I think it had shot up to 240 or something like that.
Okay.
And I said, well, let me just try something. Let me just take away all the meat and just see what happens. And this particular doctor wasn't on board. So I had to switch doctors. And 6 weeks later, he allowed me to take another test after going full plant-based, and it dropped dramatically. It dropped from, I think, 230 down to 150, 152, something like that in 6 weeks.
How old were you at that moment? How old were you, Dave?
So that was when I was 50.
Okay.
So I was 50 years old when I changed from eating fish, including some meat in my diet, to full on plant-based. And so since my cholesterol dropped, I went ahead and went plant-based, and I've been that way ever since. So now I've got over 10 years now with full on plant-based. And what I noticed after a few years was I was starting to come back to the way I felt in earlier years of running. Whereas when I got to 7 or 8 miles, it didn't feel like I was dragging concrete. It actually felt like, oh, finally I'm there, where, you just feel like nothing can stop you. You can run for days. And so that feeling started to come back. And now to jump ahead with where, me posting TikToks and stuff, where I'm really challenging myself now is, a couple weeks ago, I went out and ran 30 miles after hearing a coach on TikTok say, if you're not failing at your goals aren't high enough or something like that. And I'm thinking, gosh, I keep telling myself I'm going to go run 20 miles and I do it every time. So my next goal is going to be 30 miles. There's no way I can just go out and run 30 miles. And I did, and I felt fine. And so I don't even know how far I can go because that's the furthest run I've had so far. But here I am, 60, and plant-based. I haven't drank any alcohol since my late 20s. And I just feel like I'm doing real good right now. And I can't see myself going back to a carnivore type style diet. I really like where I'm at right now. It feels really good.
Does your family share that approach? Are they also plant-based or mostly plant-based?
I can't think of one person in my circle, family or friends, as plant-based. I am alone in my world.
Oh,
So yeah, I haven't convinced my daughters to go plant-based. I haven't convinced them to give up alcohol. I haven't convinced my wife to go plant-based, although she did go non-drinking with me back 36 years ago. So at least we both don't drink. But everyone around me just has the normal American diet. I'm the only one who's doing plant-based. But it's working for me. And even when they leave that pizza on the counter, I'm able to walk back and forth without grabbing a piece. So.
Right. After hearing my coach is mostly plant-based, my running coach is mostly plant-based, and some of the heroes in the sport of running and ultras have been vegan, have been plant-based for years. And at the end of 2024, I was thinking, I was paleo. I was hardcore paleo for a couple of years, loving, I thought if I could only have one meal for the rest of my life and have it every day, it would give me a steak salad. I'm in, right? For years.
Right.
And then, thanks to, I think, adaptation and, I wanted to give it a go. I'm like, I'm going to try this. And so at the start, January 1st, 2025, I'm like, yeah, it doesn't have to be that dramatic. There's no purpose to this other than I want to see how I feel. And within a couple of weeks, I just felt better. I had more strength, more predictive, everything. And, but I suppose, to be honest, the biggest change for me that gave me quite a bit of satisfaction was that I could, and I still do, consume massive amounts of food. I eat so much. And if you're eating meat, you can't eat, and you eat a quantity just from a sheer quantity. If you eat a lot of meat, right? For me anyway, really, I might as well be drinking a fifth of Jack Daniels, because the body takes too long to recover when you eat a lot. When I would eat a lot of meat products. So I haven't been drinking for, I don't know, like 19 years, which is good. And,
Great.
Yeah. And I feel really good about all that. But so now, beans and lentils and a plant-based is my friend. And I consume a lot of food and have a metabolism level that, it just feels right. It just feels dialed in. Now, it's only been since January 2025. So unlike you, I mean, it kind of just started, but I really, I feel alive about it, and I don't push it onto other people at all. But people see us doing things, and in our habit, we influence people by just living how we live. And I'm telling you, man, when you see a guy over 60, when you see you over 60 or 60 running, there's plenty of other guys like us, almost maybe with the same exact stories, Dave, and they're just not moving like we are. And I can't convince them that it's how much better it is. It's not our job to tell them that story, but that's in part why this podcast exists. I just want to get on with guys who are like, yeah, here we're doing it. Not trying to sell anything. We're just doing it. So your TikToks, your videos are really well done. Like I said before, authentic, because you're not challenging people. You're just kind of saying, well, I didn't know if I could run that 30 miles, but I did. I feel pretty good. And I think that's enough. Sometimes that's all we need, because I'm going to talk to the guy who's been thinking about running for a long time. He used to run and blah, blah, blah. And now the kids are out of the house and he's not yet retired, but he doesn't even know if that even means anything to him. Will I ever retire? He might say. And his mailbox is just a couple blocks away. And what I'm really hoping, Dave, is that one day he'll just like start to shuffle to that mailbox, right? All you got to do is start moving. And if you move, I'm convinced if a guy runs, but doesn't tell himself I'm supposed to, or I have to, or I used to, it doesn't matter. Just do it. And if you do it, you're like, oh, that felt all right. I'm a little out of breath, but I remember that feeling. That felt pretty good. The next morning, even with a small run, right? If you don't run for years, the next morning, like you can feel your legs. But that's the great discovery. The guy's going to be like, oh man, I can feel my legs again. I remember how this is supposed to work, right? Anyway, that's why you were inspiring, man. When I saw the video, I'm like, man, if people can just see Dave's videos and just see them. So I think your daughters are right. Bravo to them. And the way you're putting together these posts is magic, man. So I really hope that we catch some 6-year-old dudes on the couch flipping through TikTok, and there you are.
Well, or even the younger audience, as we talk about, our histories of, you track, me cross country, then military, and we carried that forward. There might be some, you were mentioning guys our age, but there might be some 23, 24-year-olds out there who are already going down the wrong path that, might jump on board as well. And go, you know what? If I want to be running or in good shape when I'm in my 60s, I'm only 24 now, but you know what? Maybe I had to dip my toe in the water and just, start getting out there and doing some things. So we're not only talking to our, our gen, our age group, but all age groups.
Our boomers, the boomers. We're not just talking to the boomers.
Exactly. And so, it's tricky putting a post together and not making it look what I can do, and trying to make it look like, hey, you know what? You can get out here and do this as well. You don't have to go run 30 miles, but it's good for you to get out and get some exercise as well. I like to tell people, not generally on TikTok, but on Facebook, where it's a little more personable. It's friends, families, high school friends, things of that nature, people who know you a little bit better. I take my TikTok videos and I post them on Facebook, and then I'll post something like, hey guys, just go to a park, make sure there's a working bathroom, start with a half mile out, half mile back, run it, jog it, walk it. It doesn't matter. Just go out and start exercising. And if you feel better, run a little further, run 3/4 out, 3/4 back, and go enjoy nature. Go find a river, go find a lake, go down to the ocean. Personally, I live in the foothills, but I still drive 45 minutes away to do my main runs, because it's just so perfect. There's a lake and nice paths. There's both dirt paths and bike paths that are kind of a softer pavement. And so I personally am willing to go invest an hour and a half of driving to get a really good run in. So I'm telling people to, rather than run through the neighborhoods or run through, go to a high school track, go out in nature. And what that does for me is you forget you're even working out, because the next turn might be a view of the lake, or it might be this beautiful tree that you can focus in on. And so that's always my advice. Get out to a park, and just start slow.
It's great advice. Yeah, convince them to go see something. And the moment they see nature and they're in it, at least they'll be in it, whether they run there or not. That's great. And if you can convince people to take the effort to go out and reach nature, that's a pretty good. You've done a lot, Dave. If your comments are getting people to go do that, that's a lot. I'm a slave to convenience, so I know I have 3.5 miles to my local park here in LA, Griffith Park, which is huge, but it's the one I have, right? So I have 3.5 miles there, 3.5 miles back. That's 7. And I then have the opportunity to cover miles inside the park, which is glorious, but I can't tell people, run there and then, So I think your suggestion is just right. Get them there, get them to the nature, no matter how how they have to do it. How about this? How about you walk us through one of your TikToks? Like, what does making a TikTok for you actually look like? What's the process? Do you think about it before you go out there, or do you just start shooting things and then afterwards, like, oh, let's make a video out of it?
One thing I've noticed since my daughters asked me to start doing that, and we were on a vacation in Mexico when they said I was getting ready to go run out on the beach, and my daughter goes, "Dad, you need to take some pictures, and I'll show you how to stitch them together and make a video on TikTok." And so my older daughter, I went out, I took some pictures and stuff like that, and pictures of me. I did a swim that day too. I did kind of an ocean swim and then a run on the beach. And so took pictures of the whole thing. She stitched it together and added some music, and it turned out really good. And so it was easy to just go out and get that started. What's happened since then is I feel like when I'm going to post a video, it can't just be my Tuesday, 4 or 5 mile run, or my Thursday 6 to 10. It's got to be something that's kind of will get somebody's attention. So I've only been posting my long runs, which I try to do a long run of maybe 17 miles or longer, at least once a week. And those are the ones I've kind of been posting. And what TikTok has done is it's pushed me to get a better workout in. I mean, it's actually made me healthier because I'm going out and I'm going, nobody wants to see that I need to go up that mountain and be coming down the other side so they can see the lake, as I'm running. And so it pushes me to get a better workout in, which is kind of funny. And if it wasn't for TikTok, I would have never gone out and run a 23 or 26 or 30 mile run. I'd still be doing my 6, 8, 10 mile runs, that kind of thing.
What?
Which is what I was doing. So when that first video, the very first video I did, I think I did a 20 minute swim and a 4 mile run. And the next one was, I think, an 8 mile run while I was on vacation. And that's kind of where I started. And now I posted a 30 mile run. So it's funny that you ask about this, because just the process of making a video has gotten me in better shape. And I definitely want to practice what I preach. And so the things I'm telling people about, I'm eating plant-based, and I also fast. I only eat between 2 and 6 p.m. every day. And so I got to be on my game. If I'm telling people that, hey, only eat between 2 and 6 and get rid of the sweets, and after a long run, the last thing you want to do is come back and eat donuts and stuff like that. Eat something that's, nutrient dense. Don't eat donuts and bagels and stuff eat healthy food. And so I have to do that too. So it's brought me to a whole new level of fitness. And technology too. I've got a little drone, one of those drones that follows you when you run now. And it's like this high tech thing. And so people can see me running, and they can see my, see what I'm seeing. And so the whole process of putting a TikTok TikTok video together has definitely made me a healthier 60-year-old man. So there you go.
Wow. Okay. Just wow. The first person I've heard to ever say that the process of making the videos gets you even, increases your fitness. That is mind blowing, wonderful, superb. Wow. I love that. And I love that you can see in your videos, as you notice the drone shots, and it's good production value, but it's still authentic and real. It's not overproduced. You're literally just capturing yourself. And I think there's something really, really powerful about that. I jumped too fast after in the plant-based moments. Let's step back a second and talk about fasting. When did you decide? And the note you sent to me is that you've got this window 2 to 6 p.m. So that's only 4 hours. Tell us about your fasting and what's your window of consumption daily?
Yeah, I can't remember. I think there's a few people I follow that are in that space of longevity and things of that nature. One is Dr. David Sinclair, and I think he's the one who talked about fasting. And I believe I started, actually, it's been a little over a year. January of 2025 is when I started fasting.
Okay.
And you talk about being able to consume a lot of food. And I've always been that way as well. And I really have to watch my weight because I can eat, everything. For example, my wife will order food or we'll be eating and she'll can eat like half her plate and she'll just go, oh, I'm stuffed. And I'm going, my body doesn't work that way. I don't leave anything on my plate. Everything's gone, So one of the ways that I combat my weight and my physique, I like to keep a good physique. I like to keep my abs. I think I have the same abs I had when I was in my 20s, and I want to keep it that way. But I just tested fasting to see, what it was all about, and it's been working for me. So normally I try to eat. I eat pretty much the same thing every day. It's usually a veggie stir fry with tofu and peanuts and spinach and peas and a whole bunch of high protein type stuff in there. Along with a protein shake that I'll usually eat before or after, and that gets me enough protein to sustain me. But I'll usually eat around 2:00, and my window is usually about 2 to 4. I tell other people 2 to 6 to try to give them a little bit better window, but I'm kind of a 2 to 4. That's what time I eat every day. If I'm doing a run the next day, I'll add rice to it. I normally don't eat rice, but if I'm doing not a normal run, not like a 6 to 8 mile run, but if I'm doing, say, over 10 miles, I'll add rice. And then if I'm doing a long run, say over 20 miles, I'll do pasta. Pasta is kind of my go-to to sustain me for say a 20 mile or longer.
And still within that 2 hour window, still within 2 to 4 p.m.
Yeah. And when I'm and if I'm doing a long run, like a 20 mile or more, and I'm eating a lot of pasta, sometimes I'll back that up. I'll try to eat I'll try to finish eating by 2:00, try to clean out the pipes and everything before I go on a run. I like to be out pretty early. Like I like to be starting my run by 6 a.m. So I like my pipes cleaned, everything done so I can just go. And so if I back up that meal to being finished by 2:00, it gives me all the sustained carbs that I need, and then I can also run without having to, stop at every bathroom.
Did you try other windows of consumption and then end up saying, oh, the best for me is this 2 to 4 window? So did you try other time frames or schedules?
So if it's later, so my goal is to stay in the only eat in the fasting window and try not to cheat. So I do like foods that aren't really that I'm not supposed to be eating, like ice cream and things of that nature. And I do cheat, especially when my wife and I are on vacation. We enjoy going out to eat and then maybe some ice cream or something afterwards. It's not a lot, but I do cheat. But if I keep that window between 2 and 4, I have found that it kind of I'm not hungry after that. And I'll also I wear retainers. And as soon as like at 4:00, I'll put my retainers in. I'll brush my teeth, floss, and put my retainers in. And once I do that, there's nothing else going in my mouth. I'm done for the day. And so that's my routine. Eat from 2 to 4, put my retainers in, and then I'm fine. I can make it till the next day at 2:00. I do a coffee in the morning when I wake up, which may or may not theoretically break my fast because I do a little bit of creamer. But this process is working for me. It's keeping me within my weight range goal. It's sustaining me on my runs. So far it's working.
Oh, that sounds great. I do encourage people when I talk to them, I encourage them to try fasting and all different ways to do it. And, at a minimum, you know, have a nighttime stop where you stop eating things after X time. But when I went vegan, or now I say mostly plant-based now because I was straight up vegan until a couple of months ago. And I found a collagen supplement that's bovine. So it's from cows, but it's a really clean collagen supplement. And so I use that, one big scoop before each, 10 miles or run longer. And I found some Thorn is the brand omega-3 capsules. So it's from fish oil. So I did the vegan version of things for a long time, but then these two products were just like, oh, I could feel the difference. It's the only thing I do. So now I say mostly plant-based, so I do have those two products that are in my system. But I also lost my sense of taste and smell from COVID in about 2021, and it's still not back yet. I've tried a lot of things, and it's okay. It's just whatever. It's another chapter of things. So I become an expert of textures, and I think the switching to vegan without taste or smell has been great for me because I'm like wild rice, black beans, pinto beans, mung beans, peas, lentils, lots of lentils, spinach, cruciferous vegetables. And I don't use any seasoning or spices because why? It's wasteful. So it's a very unique, I think, fueling for me and my kids or anybody. I'm in the kitchen making stuff. They're like, Dad, what is that? I don't even think that's for human consumption. I'm like, oh no, it's really good. So I tell them what's in it and they're like, okay, it sounds healthy. That's for sure. But I don't know how good it's going to taste. But I'm there for it 100%. So, but I think it might be unique. Maybe we're all a little unique. Even this description of your own consumption, the type and the times is very unique to be able to hold it up like that. Dairy doesn't hit me right. So I haven't had I don't do dairy for a long, long time. But so now it's in sync with everything else I consume. But I do encourage people to make choices that make you feel good and feel good from the moment of consumption to the moment it's no longer in your body. So donuts wouldn't make you feel good. There's so much food we consume that feels good initially, and then it just doesn't make you feel good. So I try to get people to just try it. Just try something that just makes you feel good. And I think once we find something that makes us feel good, it's easy to look for more things that make you feel good. I think.
Yeah. As a runner, I think it's important to keep testing that arena. I mentioned earlier that I kind of split the foundation into 3 groups: running, nutrition, and sleep. And I see a lot of people who are runners and they either celebrate with food that you shouldn't eat because they say I earned it.
Right.
Or they just don't understand. Or actually, I could be the one who's wrong because I watch people who are very good runners and they're laying everything out on the table, showing all the things they're going to eat. And they're eating things that I would not consider nutrition. There's no nutrition value to them whatsoever, but it's working for them. It's things that I wouldn't put in my body. It's packaged food. It's energy bars. It's donuts, bagels, things of that nature. I just don't see how putting those things in my body are going to help me, but they do it. So that's great for them. I think I would target the people who are running and they're saying running is making me fat or running is making me gain a ton of weight, or I'm preparing for this marathon, but I'm gaining so much weight. And that's where I think that it's a challenging area of connecting the runner and the nutrition or the diet, because you can eat run and post run foods that are much healthier, that will give your body what it needs, and it'll be, satisfying, and you won't gain a ton of weight. A lot of those people are the ones that they're celebrating with very, foods that are just not nutritious, or they're pre-planning their run to fuel with a lot of foods that, I just don't consider good food to put in your body. I do cheat with one product. I started using goo gels in the late 90s, and I do use goo gel, but one goo will satisfy me for about 6 miles. I'll just take a little bit of it each mile, and that's enough for me, along with some sort of water with, fortified with some sort of electrolytes or something like that. And that's good for me. And bananas. I use bananas along my long runs too. But that's a problem I see with people either trying to get into running. That the weight gain part of it is something that I think they need to work on better, rather than just saying running makes me fat.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I go a step further, really. Now, after all these years, now I finally got to a place where like weight, your weight is not the issue. Understanding how your body is constructed, that's really important. Understanding how your body literally responds to the food you consume, that's important. Some years ago, I started to use the word fuel, never referring to food necessarily. It's just fuel. So once I got to understand that it's all fuel, was easier for me to start really diving into understanding how my body processes, metabolizes that fuel across the board, everywhere. And so, when I go a long distance or I run a race, I'm surprised sometimes that I weigh, because it's all pieces of data, but I really enjoy the idea of running a long, long distance and then weighing after the end of it, weighing about the same. If you can put 50 miles on your body in one go and you weigh about the same, doesn't have to be the goal. But man, when that happens, I'm very satisfied, because what it means is I'm fueling exactly. I want this body to be an F1 car, right? That's what this body is. It's not a dune buggy, and it's not even NASCAR. NASCAR is a great example of the people who say I don't want to run because they get fat, because NASCAR is great, but there's a lot more flexibility and a leeway in a NASCAR performance vehicle than an F1 vehicle, right? So I want to see myself on the F1 grid, not NASCAR, because I know exactly what I need. And it's very unique and very personal, right? So even choosing the gels and the liquid carbs and understanding how my body uses sugar. And I don't have anything against donuts, but I don't eat donuts. So everything, the breads I use are all organic, it's all organic breads. And once I went vegan, guess what? My gluten intolerance disappeared. I don't understand how that worked at all. For years, I was gluten intolerant. And when I cut everything out and just went vegan, all of a sudden gluten intolerance doesn't hit me. Nothing, the inflammation that I thought was caused by XYZ in the past, clearly it wasn't caused by those things. It was caused by something else. And so now organic breads like Dave's bread. Dave's a great brand. Dave's is a brand that I consume bagels all the time. I eat a lot of peanut butter, real peanut butter, and real fruit. The only time I really eat fruit is like on bagels, and eat a ton of that. And so I wouldn't, it's not healthy. It wouldn't be healthy of anybody to actually see what I consume and how I consume it. But all I know is that it is, when I wake up in the morning, I'm exactly the same size and I feel really great about it. So anyway, we're all so different, but I'm convinced it would bum me out, Dave. I've never heard somebody actually that I can remember saying, I don't want to run because it'll make me fat. I had never actually heard that. I don't know where that would come from. I think that's just an excuse, right? I mean, come on, you just don't want to be fit. I don't get that. What does it mean even?
Right. Yeah. Well, I think your example is really good. I mean, especially for somebody like you who really has to fuel on those really long runs, you almost want to over fuel just to make sure. It's almost like you do want to gain weight to make sure you had enough fuel, but you're so dialed in. That's amazing. Yeah, that is
And F1's a
amazing.
good example too, because the body weight, you
Yep.
sweat. So I lose sweat. You sweat and you lose volume of
Right.
water. So I got to consume a certain amount of liquid. I got to make sure that sodium gets replaced. And sodium's loss is hereditary. It's not about being fit or something. You just got to measure it. Once you know exactly how much you sweat, well, you do a salt to sweat test. Precision Fuel and Hydration does a great one. Very real. They draw blood. They're with you. They got a great machine. And once I did that a couple of years ago, after I heard about it years before then, and the guy was like, "Change my life, man. I'm telling you, you got to go understand exactly how much you sweat." Okay, sure. And a couple of years later, I did this test, and now it's absolutely a thing I can count on. As long as I make sure I have the right salt in the right amount of sodium in my system when I'm going, it's good. And I had this experience last week. I had the opportunity to pace a runner, Paul James Johnson, 69 years old. He just finished Cocodona 250. It was he finished it. This was his fifth finish, and grateful to be able to go out there and run with him. But it was the first time that I'd participated in such a long distance, and I paced him for 44 miles. But I've got to go to the aid stations in these massive runs, really well constructed, orchestrated aid stations. But when you're running as a pacer, you can actually eat the food at the aid station. If you're just volunteering or something, it's not for you. It's for the runners and the pacers. Mm-hmm. And so it was, what a joy it was. I had my liquid fuel. I had my gels and all dialed in with that. But what a joy it was to go to these aid stations and just eat real food. It was like an avocado in a avocado wrap, nothing in it but avocado in a wrap, or a bean and tortillas, little wraps, watermelon, stuff like that, right? So real food. And it was a nice mix. It was a really nice touch. So when I'm out there running or training, even for 20 or 30 miles, whatever, I don't take real food very often. I just take my gels and right. Yeah. So it was a good experience. When you go out on long 20-mile runs, do you take real food with you?
I do. You mentioned Dave's bread. I like the Dave's organic bread with peanut butter and honey. And then for like a long run, I'll just break little pieces off it. And, every few miles, I'll have some of that. So I will include that with bananas for a long run.
And is that only during the hours of 2 and 4? Like when you're out there running?
Yeah, this is definitely when I'm doing a long run, 20 miles or longer. Yeah. That is not a day that I'm going to keep my fast. I will eat like a sandwich or something like that. Like I was just talking about with the Dave's bread with peanut butter and honey. I will include that in my run. So I will break my fast for a long run and consume food.
Okay, thank you. I'm glad that now it makes sense. Now it really makes sense because, I was trying to think like, man, he's out there leaving at 6 a.m. and he's going to, so, okay, good. Because really when you're out there running, we're performing, the sole purpose of consuming fuel while you're running is to keep the session strong, right? Just to keep going. You don't want to bonk. You don't want to like, oh, I ran out of this or ran out of that. Okay. Oh, that makes me feel good. Now I feel.
Yeah, I would say for a run that's say 10 miles or less, I don't need anything. I bring water with me, usually just a handheld water. And that's enough for me for 10 miles or less. But for anything longer, I'll wear my, I'll bring more water either in I still use a Camelback, or I've got a front pack that has water in it, reservoir in it as well. But I do not, for a 10 mile or longer, I do not want to be out of water. And I usually do a loop. So I've got to carry everything with me rather than, I'll do one loop, I should say. So I'm gone the whole time away from my vehicle or home. So.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm getting slowly am getting faster. I know this to be true. It's taken a long time, but that's what's demonstrated. Just slowly increasing my speed just in general. And so, but if I'm out there, I take a lot of water. I carry a lot of liquid because I don't want to run around the lot and come back to my motorcycle and then go back again and do that. I don't do that.
Yeah.
Let's shift to the other, one of those 3 pillars you referenced, we haven't talked about yet, I think. And that's, as we wind this down, let's talk about sleep. What's the role of sleep playing in your life?
Yeah. I'm glad to see that more and more, coaches, people just in general are talking more about sleep, because it really is. I mean, when we talk about runners recovering, that recovery is so important for us. And not only I don't know if you do sauna or foam rollers or, red light therapy or whatever it is you in particular use, or anyone who might listen to this, but sleep is so important. And fortunately for me, I've always been a good sleeper, and my wife as well. We usually before we go to bed, we'll just watch something on our iPads. I'll usually watch YouTube. Be watching you from now on, but I'll usually watch like the 80s videos or just random health information, people I follow in the longevity space. I'll just lay in bed and do that. And my wife and I, we don't even have like a TV service where you can watch news and sports and stuff. We got rid of that 5 or 6 years ago. So we'll lay in bed and we'll watch our iPads. And as soon as her iPad closes, that means it's time to go to bed. And that's usually between like 8:30 and 9:00. And then I'll get up at 4:30 or 5. But I pretty much get 8 hours of sleep every night. And I am asleep within probably 30 seconds of laying down and knowing I'm going to go to sleep. So that pillar in my life has been one that's just sustained me throughout my, my runner's life, which has benefited me. I'm sure that's why I'm still fit, is because of the sleep part of that. But I feel for people who struggle with what I'll call one of those pillars. I think people who suffer or really struggle with not getting good sleep, there's just no comparison in getting good sleep and not getting good sleep.
Amen to that. It's eat, sleep, and exercise. And every once in a while, when I see anybody using, adapting or trying to adapt to or testing out a modality that's going to help them recover more, like a ice bath or a sauna or the red light or whatever it is, all those can be great. And I don't consistently use any of those. But hands down, without a doubt, fact-based, science-based in our human nature of things, sleep governs and rules it all. If you sleep, you can recover. If you sleep and you also exercise diligence in a fasting schedule, you'll recover better. If you sleep and you follow a fasting schedule and you're eating good whole foods and you exercise, well, then you look like Dave Perry. That's what it is. It's impressive, Dave, and thank you for sharing. Thank you for coming to this conversation. I've enjoyed it so much because it feels very familiar, and not that my own confirmation bias is important, but sometimes it is. Sometimes our confirmation bias isn't a negative thing. It really validates what we're doing and how we think about things. And while we're not the same person, it's good to see guy in his 60s with family and a history, just trying to take care of himself. And I think when we take care of ourselves, there's a lot of collateral benefit that people around us kind of glean from that, I think. What's your, here we go. What's your do you have any milestone, a running milestone that you're looking forward to in the future?
Yeah, I think now that I've kind of opened that gate to challenge myself more, something you said a few months ago, and it was just kind of random. You said something like, "Oh, I just went out and ran my age, 62 miles or 61 miles or whatever it was at the time," and that was all you said. It was just a short little thing within, when you were talking, and so I think maybe for my 61st birthday, I might do something like what you were talking about and go out and test the waters and just get up early in the morning and tell my wife, "Hey, I'll be home sometime tonight," and see what happens. But I think that would be a really fun goal to just kind of go out and prove to myself and see where I'm at, in the world compared to you. So,
right.
And also a shout out to your guests, your elite, your ultras. I've always looked up to, those athletes as heroes. Those are the people that are, when I'm reaching the halfway course, they're already coming back and they're just this perfect form and they're beautiful and they're fit. And I want to be like them. Being a middle of the packer all my life has been fun and it's being sustainable, but just a shout out to all of those that you normally have on the show. They are just brilliant athletes and we all admire them and want to be like them, but our bodies just, and you as well, you're one of those. So it's nice to see. So a shout out to them and obviously a thank you for having, just someone like me who's kind of the average Joe just out there trying to figure it all out.
I think that's it, Dave. I think there's a lot more of me and you than there are of elites, right? And so we're inspired by these guys doing all these long distances. But I'm really glad to have found you. I can't wait to watch more of your TikTok videos. I have been nudged and prodded and suggested about stop talking, Mark, and finally go get a drone and we just start using it. Like people have been telling me this for a year now. And yeah. So, but when I saw your videos, Paul James Johnson, the guy I just ran with too, it looks like it's just so much fun. So I want to do that. I want to do that for sure. Okay, Dave, how about this last thing? A guy named Lyon Caldwell, who I interviewed some time ago. His goal, he's in his 70s and he's run at least one 100-mile race for many years. And so in 2029, he will reach the mark where he'll be able to say, for 50 years, I've run at least one 100-mile race. Right now, that's an objective. That's a goal. I love it.
Fantastic. Amazing.
What he said, I said, well, what do we tell people? Like, okay, guy like me, I run a lot, whatever. What's something I should think about doing? And he said, Mark, I think running do a 48-hour event. I'm like, well, that seemed kind of random, right? I was like, okay, Lyon, why a 48-hour event? He said, because a 48-hour event, when you have a timed event, there's no DNF, there's no winner or loser. You just run. And if you want to run for 12 miles or 24 miles or 36 miles or 48 miles, and he said, that's great. He said, pick a 48-hour race to see what you can do. So it's usually going to be a loop course. So if you need a crew, whatever, there's somebody standing there at the table. So that's easy. But he also said that for him, he uses a 48-hour race because he knows for sure he can go 100 miles in 48 hours. So when he does his 48-hour events, that's his goal, is to do the 100 miles, not do 48 hours. So he does, and he just stops at 100 miles. And that gave me so much. He gave me the license to do that. And I never would have thought about that. So when I run my age in miles, that's 62. That's 100K. I'll do that. But now in hindsight, I realize, I didn't have to actually run a 100K race. There's other formats that let you, within the rules, completely embrace you going out there and running your age in miles. So I DNF'd these 200K races meaning I cut off the course because I was too slow. But on one of them, the race director said, I was with a pacer, a friend of mine, and he's like, can we just go? Like, here, I'll take my bib, but I'm already out here in the middle of the desert. Can I just go finish? I want to run my age in miles. And the race director was like, sure. So I didn't get a sanction. I didn't get the medal that he, sanctioned finish. But I'll tell you, Dave, I finished those 62 miles. We ran actually 63 just to make sure I didn't have to pay what they call the Strava tax, right? The Strava tax is you finish the miles and you go as long as you're supposed to. And you look and Strava says that you finished, half a mile short or something. Anyway, so I ran 63 miles and I feel so good about having done that. So however you choose to do that age in miles, whenever you decide to do it, go for it. And don't worry about fitting into a race scenario. There's so many formats. And I can't wait to see your TikTok about that because you're going to do it. You're going to do it.
That's great.
Okay,
now
Dave.
the pressure's on me.
No,
thanks for talking to me, Mark. It's been wonderful. Appreciate it.
Great. Yeah. All right. I will see you out on the trail somewhere.
Yes.
I'm certain of that. All right. Thanks, Dave.
Sounds good. Thanks, Mark.
Okay. Take care.